Hello and welcome back in. We are two brothers coming back into the B Dub Bros podcast. This is episode number 4. So we have officially reached a decent streak here, and this week we kind of closed up college basketball last week, and feels like all of a sudden it is college basketball done. College football is forefront in everybody's mind right now, especially Tennessee has jumped into the news cycle. Nico Iamaleava no longer Tennessee's starting quarterback after going to a playoff last year. We'll kind of dive into the saga that has been now, with the reports, kind of a 3 or 4 month process, a lot more in depth than I think a lot of fans really initially thought. So we'll jump right into it. My co-host, my brother, Mr. Logan, back again. Give us a little bit of just initial feelings on what you kind of thought leading into last week. We touched on it, and now it's just completely blown up.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Everyone's talking about it, and we're going to talk about it too. Welcome to the Nico-sode. That's what I'm calling it. There's so much to go over, and for me, I say it every episode, as a diehard Tennessee fan, this is what I want to talk about. So this is probably what the episode is going to be. There's a few other things going on, of course, but this is by far not even the biggest, probably the biggest sports news, not just college football. And of course, with spring practices and spring games happening, it's just perfect timing for us to go right into the season. But first off, let me just say, I am so proud of Tennessee and Josh Heupel. I mean, I would go to war with that man. That was the response that he had, and the response that Tennessee had was. I hope more universities look at that and say, "Yeah, that's how we're going to handle this nonsense," because that's what it is right now. It's nonsense, and I mean, I feel bad for Nico. I really do. But it at the same time, you got to step up, man. You're like 21 years old. You got to make some decision for yourself. His dad is a clown. His camp is full of clowns, and unfortunately, I think his next profession will be a clown camp, because good luck going anywhere that's going to be close to Tennessee, what they're offering and the status that university has. And just, man, I really do feel bad for him. What a this things are coming out left and right. It's hard to even keep up with, of what a absolute crap show this was. But good on Tennessee. And man, I don't even know. Like, guide me through it, brother, because I have got so much going on. Oh man, there's so much to talk about. So go for it.
Yeah, we'll kind of go through now a kind of a developing timeline. It was one of those that initially, when reports came out, we had kind of gone back to December, where we had heard that negotiations or talks were going on, but didn't really seem like anything significant. Now all of a sudden you hear Josh Pate this week. He almost casually throws out that, oh yeah, Nico and his camp, they were talking about holding out for the playoff game if they didn't get more money.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
it just snowballs, and you realize how long that Tennessee had been kind of dealing with this situation. And you think about it, of course, this is one of those situations where there's not really going to be a winner in any of this. Tennessee still loses their starting quarterback, but when you look at the grand scheme, the total timeline, it feels like Tennessee ended up having to do what they had to do. They really could not let this precedent be set. And I think as time expands, this is going to maybe end up being a thing that a lot of programs are thanking Tennessee for, that Tennessee has been on the forefront of a lot of NIL situations and have gone to bat for players just like Nico when he first comes out of high school. They sued the NCAA, And now Tennessee again at the forefront of an NIL situation where I think a lot of programs are going to say, thank you, we needed this, because a lot of teams are probably not turning away a starting quarterback that got you to a playoff. The way Tennessee ends up making what we feel like is probably the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a victim of their own problem in a way. And good on them for taking the stance they did. They could have easily given in, but what does that say to your second rep O lineman who's working hard for you to taking first team, mostly second team reps? What does that say to the guy who's really is giving his all for Tennessee? If you give in, so just I mean, again, I don't even. My mind is so jumbled with this nonsense. I went from a proponent of NIL to absolutely hating it. I hate NIL. It is, I guess I should have known, but this it's created such a huge problem, and we're the only way to fix it is to run back to Daddy NCAA and have them put some rules in. Not
Yeah,
and
it's a situation now where you, like you mentioned, you have the NCAA who has handled basically every situation poorly that we can all think of, or you've got where the guys like Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, they have been in talks with our federal government, Congress, trying to get things done. So it is a situation now where we all knew what it was. It was the NFL without the rules, and you're seeing those repercussions, and now you're seeing kind of the first steps, it feels like, maybe into that kind of collective bargaining agreement, those type
yeah,
of things that gets you closer to this is basically going to be a minor league professional system. But
yeah,
the harder thing is that you go from NFL franchises in 32 with ending up when you're in the regular season, you got a 53 man roster to 126 NCAA teams with
yeah.
100 players on their roster, and it's just the scope of it is massive, and it's not a journey that has any kind of near ending, it feels like.
No, no, we all know where the end is going. We just don't know how we're going to get there. And credit to I watched all kinds of reactions and YouTubers and all kinds of credit to our favorite Georgia troll, Uncle Lou, for saying that. But it's true. I mean, he kind of laid it out perfectly. Is we know where it's headed. We just don't know how we're going to get there. And they're going to have to become full-time employees of the university. And where does that stop? Is that every guy on the roster? Is that every guy who's making a certain amount? Is that every guy who's, I have no idea. It's going to be, unfortunately, I think it's going to really hinder the uh, magic of the game. We're still going to have great football. You can't ruin the game of football, I don't think. But you're not going to see, you're just, you're not going to see those guys who go to university because they want to be there. You're going to see guys who are wanting to win championships, which, we thought we got rid of the dynasty problem, but unfortunately, that we may have just created an even worse one. Um, uh, Take Ohio State, for example. Guess what they did last year, and guess how much money they spent to do it. Um, who's to say that they're not going to win the next three because of it? It's sad. I hate it so much, but I mean, back to Nico though. Breaking news. I was just looking. Another credit to a guy that I really like to watch, old Sports Talk Jay. He just broke a little bit of some news he was putting out there. A lot of schools are apparently interested in Nico if he can drop to the 1 million mark, which is kind of hilarious. Um, I mean, guy.
Yeah, I've seen some of those reports out right now that Tennessee kind of we talked about, is this for the better or worse of college football? This particular situation, it feels like maybe ends up being for the better, as it gives some programs maybe some more bargaining chips to say, hey, we're not going to put up with that here. And now you're starting to see that with some of the reports coming out. Teams, programs not interested, teams, programs saying, yeah, we're interested, but we'll maybe give you some incentive based things, or we'll go maybe 1 million. And all of a
Right.
sudden you're turning around and Nico and his, it really almost feels not correct to kind of say Nico, yes, he's the player. In the end of this, it's his name that gets run through the mud. But it seems more and more clear that Nico almost had no say in any of these decisions. And I even was listening to Adam Sparks earlier. He's a beat writer for the football team in Tennessee. And he mentions that one thing that he noticed was when Nico had a couple of weeks where he was on campus during spring practicing and his dad was not around, he said it was the most free and most happy he had seen him while he was
Yeah.
at the University of Tennessee. And you start hearing those kind of stories, and like you said, you can't help but feel some empathy for Nico, knowing that his dad may have, in the long run, at least
100%.
drastically hindered his career in college and really in the NFL, because you're talking about a guy that probably had 6 more months of college football to play if he stays at Tennessee, and he's a top 3 pick no matter what he does this year, a top 3 round pick, and now who knows what he's going to do, and
Yeah, no
it's tough
questions
to,
asked.
to
Yeah.
watch.
100%. It's a classic case of I'm going to live through my kid. It's okay if he's miserable because I really am doing the best for him. I promise. I really am. It has nothing to do with what I want. I promise. It's for my kid. Classic case of a parent not being good enough, so they're going to ride their kid to astronomical expectations and burning them out. And he may not be burned out, but he's not getting what he's not going to get what he's going to would have gotten from Tennessee. Not a chance. I don't care where he goes. I don't care what school he goes to. Because he's not going to go to any school that's going to give him the opportunities Tennessee would have given him, and
Yeah,
did give him. I
almost one of
must say.
those situations where you kind of would hope for Nico to turn around and just publicly come out and say that, hey, I have taken a hiatus from my dad. I've talked to my teammates at the University of Tennessee. I reached out to Coach Heupel, and I'm coming back, and I'm going to restart the process, and just say,
Too late
hey,
for that. He had that
it.
chance.
I
He had that
think
chance
I
to man
think
up,
Tennessee.
and he didn't.
I think Tennessee fans would agree with that, but it is one of those situations where he had his best situation, like you said, and unfortunately for the decisions that were made for him or with his consent, he's lost that situation. So
Yeah.
it's,
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of those kind of going back to the timeline that I had mentioned started way earlier than we kind of thought, or was more serious than we thought.
Right.
And
Yeah, that was the crazy part.
the reports are that Dan Lanning, the coach at Oregon, he kind of
Right.
started
Yeah.
this, the
Shout
red
out
flag
Dan if
of,
that's true.
yeah, I mean, he calls Coach Heupel and says, hey, I just wanted you to know that your quarterback's dad just called me asking about what we would pay him to come play there. And then all of a sudden the red flag starts swirling. We get to last week where we don't know if Nico's going to enter the portal. They're in negotiations. All of a sudden, Big Nick is calling Pete Nakos a B
What a
word
joke,
on
man.
Twitter.
What a
And
joke that guy is. Yeah, now he can't be found on Twitter. How convenient is that? Yeah, you're gonna get me fired up, man. Like, yeah, he he had that chance. He had that chance to turn around and make things right. But when you go to a quarterback dinner on Thursday and then don't show up to practice like a toddler on Friday, and they refuse to speak to your head coach and arguably your best relationship you have on that team, like a 16-year-old who got her car keys taken away. Um, Good riddance, man. Like nobody's bigger than the University of Tennessee, and I just again I'm so proud of Heupel just basically giving him the big orange bird. I love it.
Yeah, and I
I
think
really
you're
actually love it. I think the university is better for it. Maybe not for the team this coming up year. They may not be better. Maybe a one or two losses more than they would have had. But I don't care because they're going to be better in the long run.
yeah, I think your sentiment is one of those that is going to be echoed by, if not all, most of the Tennessee fan base, that this was the Tennessee made the right decision. I mean, you heard it after the spring game. Heupel, like you mentioned that quote, nobody is bigger than the Tennessee program, and that includes himself. There will be a lot of people that come after him, a lot of players, a lot of coaches, and he thanked Nico for what he did while he was here, but they
Yeah,
did not skip a beat, and you heard that from some of the players as well. Jake
totally.
Merklinger, it, the quarterback now, you move forward with a freshman, a true freshman in George McIntyre, redshirt freshman in Jake Merklinger, that kind of echoed that we're disappointed that they didn't hear anything. Like you said, one of the big ones that we heard was Miles Kitzelman mentioning that we don't want anybody in this locker room that is not going to give their all for this
Yeah.
university. They, it almost feels like, yes, that maybe the team as a whole is not necessarily better without Nico. Obviously, he did some really
Right.
good things, but it feels like a galvanizing moment
Oh
for the
yeah, they're more
inside
bonded
locker
for
room.
sure. You can't
And
tell me they're not, or at least it seems like it.
yeah, and I've
Bush.
heard people talking about, well, what if Tennessee goes out and goes 6-6 or 7-5? Do you then start blaming Heupel for this situation? I think Tennessee fans are going to say, if we go 6-6 and 7-5, and we're going to say, good on you, Heupel. We'll scratch this one. Let's move on with George McIntyre or face on Brandon, who's coming in next year,
Sure.
and let's go get
But
it done. This is one of those that I think a lot of Tennessee fans are going to give Heupel a pat on the back, and if the results don't come, so be it. Let's move on to next year.
people act like Nico took all the other talent with him. Yes, they lost a lot of guys. I'm not gonna. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Tennessee is necessarily a playoff team at the moment, but 6-6 or 7-5. I mean, it seems a little silly. Heupel's found ways to win. I don't know if you guys remember this guy named Hendon Hooker. Um, Heupel's going to find a guy and he's going to get the best out of him. So I think they're going to be all right, and especially like you said, in the long run, they're better for it. You don't want a quarterback who's chasing money and not W's. You just can't have that. It's going to be.
That
I think it
is,
would have been in cancer, and they probably would have. They very well could have been 6-6 or 7-5 anyways. Um,
yeah, and that is one of those now, like you mentioned, moving on to finding a new quarterback. You almost have a tougher job now because you are about to go do the exact same thing that Nico just did. You're about to go try to
right,
find a quarterback that's going to do the same thing to his program and try to figure out, is he going to come in here ready to give you his all, or is he going to say, after he throws for 4 touchdowns in the opening game against Syracuse, say, I don't think I'm going to play next week unless I get a bonus? Or, like,
right.
now you start running into those situations. How does it work out? Obviously, you got to get another body in the QB room. You can't
Oh,
have
you
two
have to.
quarterbacks.
Yeah, you have to.
But it's an interesting situation and not an easy situation
No, you
recruiting wise for 25.
right. You have to find somebody. There's no doubt there. I don't. I will be shocked if Tennessee doesn't go out and find someone. But before we move into that, I do want to do one more last Nico thing, just because, you know, I just think it's. I'm more mad at his dad, and I'm giving him the brunt of it. But I'm gonna laugh at him anyways. It seems like North Carolina is for sure out. And the teams I've been hearing lately are UCLA, because of course, because good luck winning 7 games there. And yeah, um, California money is not like Tennessee money, by the way, Nico. So good luck
Who he
that
should
one as
know,
well.
with his family
Who he
being a
should know.
California family, they
Uh,
shouldn't know that.
right. I've heard Texas Tech, which is interesting. That would be fun to watch. And then Tulane. Yeah. Tulane, and that's it. And that
Yeah,
is
and
it.
that gives you an idea of how far off it seems to have fallen. And I've actually heard just earlier today, Tulane is they're kind of teetering on being interested. The money
Yeah, of
is not there. Even
course.
UCLA, who has a situation, I know you have heard of this. Nico's little brother initially committed to UCLA.
Uh-huh.
He jumped ship to go to Arkansas, so
Yeah.
not exactly a relationship starter there with
No,
Nico. So
no.
it is more and more looking like it's going to be really hard for Nico to find a spot, and definitely seems like
Well,
a pay decrease is coming
yeah.
along with it.
Well, not only the pay decrease is going to happen, I think that was always going to happen. And how could you be so arrogant to think it would be anything otherwise? But at this point, I think you may not even start at a Power Five program. You might not even start at a Power Five program, and you had it all. You had it all, man. And I just feel bad for him. I
Yeah,
hate it.
to me, as bad as it is for Nico in the long run, it's unfortunate for him because of what, like you said, what he did have. I think that's probably the best case scenario for college football as a whole, is if he does not end up in the Power Four, Power Five landscape.
Mm,
No offense to Nico, but I think that's better in the long run if the big programs say, sorry, we're not going to play that game. And it
yeah.
sets a precedent, hopefully sends a message to parents out there that are doing similar things, that are running. You got to start teaching your young athletes now how to handle these situations, get real representation. It seems to be a big lesson that can be learned from this
Yeah.
situation. Get a real
Well,
agent that can handle these situations, because
that's
I
a good one.
guarantee
Yeah.
if you've got Drew Rosenthal or somebody like that, that's Nico's representation, he would have turned around and said, listen, Nico, I get where you're coming
Yeah.
from, but I don't think you're going to go anywhere better than the situation that you're currently in. Let's be realistic here. And Tennessee,
Yeah.
Nico probably never have that situation come up. So it's a lot of lessons to be learned. And unfortunately,
Maybe the
Nico,
hardest lesson that he'll ever
yes,
learn. I don't know.
absolutely.
I don't know how he comes back from this. He could go out and ball out of Liberty for a year and then transfer somewhere to you know LSU or something, and then have a great career. But that's the best case scenario. You
Yeah,
know,
it's going to be a lesson in Nico is going to have to mature as his own man, and it's going to be a
coach.
lesson of resilience. Does he have what it takes now to basically restart from scratch an athletic career where you don't have a lot of time to restart it? So it's not going to be easy for him. Well, I know Tennessee fans will be keeping tabs as much as they'll turn around and say, "Oh, forget Nico. I won't even listen to his name ever again." But
Oh, I
we're
cannot
all
wait to
going
see
to
him play
be
football again.
watching to see what he does. So it is a new situation, but not a situation that has any end in sight by any means.
I hope he goes to Georgia Tech.
That would be really interesting. Georgia Tech coming up in 2026, where you have George McIntyre probably as the starting quarterback of Tennessee, who would have been
Well,
Nico's
I don't know.
predecessor,
You
or
forget we got this
Faison
guy
Brandon,
named. Yeah. Uh huh. Yep.
who's
The number one
obviously
prospect.
really, really talented young football player. So who knows in 2 years where that ends up being? Should be a really interesting quarterback battle in a couple of years, and
For sure.
who knows with the way Tennessee's football team is heading this year, you could see a true freshman George McIntyre get some chances to prove himself. So we'll
Who
see. That should be
staying
interesting.
yeah, and staying positive here. He looked pretty darn good in the spring game.
Yeah, he's a kid
So
that probably needs to
cool.
put on 20 or 30 pounds. He's super
Yeah,
talented, obviously. He's lanky, but has all the arm talent in the world and can run the football. He is an athletic kid, a 5-star quarterback for a reason. I guess he ended up technically being a 4-star because he wouldn't throw in the t-shirt and shorts, but that's
oh,
another story
man,
for another
darn
day. But yeah, obviously a super talented kid that, yeah, it's there. Who knows where it ends up being? Do you go with, as I've heard the nickname now, Merc Slinger, I think
Oh
is
yeah,
what we've
yeah, yeah,
heard.
yeah,
So who
yeah.
knows where it ends up? Or do you have a guy come in that turns around and says, "Hey, I know Tennessee's got at least $2.5 million they'll pay me, and
Exactly,
I'm gonna go play for them and try to win a national championship." We'll
exactly.
see.
So speaking
And
of that,
that's we're talking about within the next couple of days. You're going to see that
oh
developing.
yeah,
So who knows
yeah.
what happens there
It's only a 2 week window, so something's going to happen very fast.
quickly. Yeah,
And speaking of that, another credit to one of my other favorite Tennessee YouTubers, Boogie from Talking Balls. He came out with a kind of a wish list slash pretty good possibility of guys who may enter the transfer portal due to doing it in the past, rumors, this and that, whatever it may be. But he came up with three guys, and I really like all three of them. And this is kind of a precedent on, where they may, how realistic it is, but still realistic enough to mention it. He had Avery Johnson from Kansas State, which should, guess what? More yards and more touchdowns than Nico had last year. You got Sam Levitt from Arizona State, which I think would be awesome. I love that dude. He's just a guy. 24 touchdowns, by the way, and more, almost 3,000 yards last year. Both of these guys, more touchdowns than Nico last year, by the way. And then kind of the on the edge of possibility, but he's already transferred once, so why not again? Sawyer Robinson from Baylor, 28 touchdowns last year. Uh, Good. All like I love that. I think maybe none of this is realistic at all, but I love the fact that we can talk about this kind of stuff as if it were an NFL free agency. So this is the interesting part of NIL and transfer portal. Um, and if all three of those guys get offered 2.5 by Tennessee or 1.8 even, I don't know what they're making at their current schools, but you take a trip to Knoxville and so tell me what you think. I thought that was very interesting, so
yeah,
I just wanted to mention that.
definitely. And that's when you start getting into those type of situations where you get proven guys that have started games in bigger conferences. Then you start thinking about package deals where Tennessee goes to one of these guys to Levitt and says, "Hey, bring your favorite wide receiver with you. Bring that offensive lineman that you love, that you have great rapport with.
Mhm,
All of a
mhm.
sudden, we'll give you this and maybe a little bonus if your friend starts enough games." And then all of a sudden, Tennessee might get a couple players in the portal with a quarterback. And like Austin Price said, he mentioned a couple of those guys that he says it's hard to imagine any of those guys actually jumping ship, but we all would have said the same thing before this Nico situation. And now he really, as everybody knows, Austin Price is as consistent, as good at it as anybody else in the business. And he said, now you just can't predict it anymore. Anything can happen.
Yeah,
And it wouldn't surprise me at all that you start seeing that happen. And you get a couple of these guys that bring a couple of his friends with them. And then all of a sudden, Tennessee, their dynamic changes completely moving into the new year. So you never
yeah,
know.
yeah. And Trolls, here's your chance. But who does not want to play in Josh Heupel's offense with a really good receiving core? That is far and away their best group right now. And I mean, come on, man, just come on down.
Yeah, and
We've got
you'll hear,
we've got
like you
room
said,
for you.
you'll hear trolls from other programs mention things like that. But I think all of the other SEC programs that love to hate on Tennessee will also turn around and say that, yeah, we know that that university has just as much resources as ours in Tuscaloosa or ours in Baton Rouge or Athens, and those resources are there, and it's a just for that reason, it's a place that players will want
Yeah.
to go.
Oh, for sure. And like I said, it's that Josh Heupel offense is so fun to be in. When you know, whether the production was there or not, it's still you know fun to watch and fun to be around. And yeah, we'll see. I don't know, man. I'm as excited to see where Nico's going to go as much as I am to see who Tennessee gets. So let the clown show keep on rolling. What town is next? Where did it land? I can't wait to see
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. It is a situation that reached its peak, but has not reached its way back down the mountain as more and more pieces will continue to fall, and we will definitely talk about it. It's going to be crazy. It's just one of those situations now. Nico, I mean, we just talked about how tough of a situation he is, not only now trying to find a spot, but then once you get there, you got to learn a whole new offense. You got to learn new teammates. He just, you just can't reiterate it enough. Nico is as talented as any player that we have seen within the last handful of years, but just could not be in a tougher situation when you are what we're now 5 months away from the beginning of the college football season. He's just really in a tough spot to try to reset at this point.
Yeah, and more like I wanted to mention this earlier, but more and more crazy things are coming out about like, his dad wanted Josh Heupel to change the offense to tailor him more often, as if it wasn't Nico, as if it wasn't Nico just learning the development and not as if it was Josh Heupel's fault. This things about, and like you said, demanding all the way out to November, different deals and just threatening holdouts in the playoffs and just man, I can't even wrap my head. I'm just a bumbling mess every time I think about it because I never thought that I was just hoping that NIL wouldn't become this and it absolutely did. So it's just I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I feel bad for the guy,
to your
but Nick,
point, it
you're
is NIL is not this at all. This is not what name, image, likeness was meant to be. This is, and we all know it. It is a pay for play situation now, and we continue to call it NIL, but that's not at all what this is. So yeah, it's a completely different landscape than what a kid going to a car dealership and doing a commercial for your local
yeah,
place, or your, hey, my last name's Plumber, I'm going to work with the place that sells bathroom tiles and toilets down the road, and they're going to give
yeah.
me some free stuff. That's what it was kind of meant to be, and
Mhm.
it never, I don't think it ever even came close to that. We disguised it with that early, and it was gone very quickly.
I never thought I was going to say this, but how does the NFL have a better system than college football as far as paying players? You had years and years of examples of what to do and what not to do. College football, the NFL is the biggest product on earth. Sports, at least, the biggest product on earth. And and this is what happened. I mean, it's it's wild. It now, if it wasn't the Wild West, it is now. And I don't know where we're gonna take it. We may have guys playing for five schools and 4 months, not years. Now it's crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those where, like you said, who knows where we end up, where we go. It is going to be, and a lot of people will make predictions, and every step of the way, it's been crazier than those predictions. So it's, there is no telling where we end up. But it's, unfortunately, with that road, it kind of feels like if something is not put into place, we more and more we start seeing the three people, the kind of the three entities that makes college football what it is supposed to be: the coaches, the players, the fans, you start seeing that actually kind of
Oh
being
man,
pushed
I'm
out.
glad you mentioned the fans. I had a little rant I was going to go on about that. So go
Go
ahead.
for it. No, you got it. Go for it. That's where
You
I was
know,
heading.
the fans. Guess who, Tennessee specifically, but for the most part, these collectives who are paying these guys to come to these universities and win them titles and games and rivalry games and football games, wins, W's. You know who's paying for that? Guys like me, dads who just really like football, who are giving a little extra cash to to Spire Sports, for example, because they really want the University of Tennessee to succeed. It's those guys. You're screwing those guys. So to you, Nick Iamaliava, screw you because you screwed me. I mean, I just, man, it sucks. It really sucks that this is what college football is you gave the fans an opportunity to really be a part of it, and then once again, they get the short end of the stick. And it just, oh man, I like I said, I'm a bumbling mess for the past 4 days on this. I can't get any thoughts straight. I never thought it would become this. It's sad. You know, if it was any other school, I'd probably be laughing, but I'm just like shrugging my shoulders, like, yeah, it was us. Here, yep, you're welcome. We've created history once again. Uh,
Yeah,
Welcome to Tennessee. That's what we do, I guess.
it's what you mentioned exactly right there. It is the fans that love their programs, that will love their programs, even as they get run into the ground, even as they go through, and not to mention now that we kind of briefly touched on Jeremy Pruitt's lawsuit against the NCAA and how silly that looks now with the college football landscape, and how his show cause, as much as Tennessee fans will not look back at Jeremy Pruitt favorably, his show cause now looks like a complete joke for the things that are going on in today's landscape, that he cannot coach college football because of a pretty simple violation. And now it's just amazing what more and more the fans are just losing out on what made college football so good. And it was the
Yep.
thing that I always talk about. One of the things that I love is amateur sports are a thing that you play because you love to play sports. It's the reason why we play sports growing up, is because we just want to compete. We just love what it's about, and more and more and more we get removed from that, and it just, you hope that it doesn't continue to get worse, but it really feels like it might just continue to get worse.
Well, you went from being so involved with the university to even knowing some of the players back in the day, like just being really involved in the community, and that was what it was, a community. To, sport getting bigger, guys getting paid, becoming more popular, less and less interaction with the fan base. Well, then you had these collectives come out and the NIL become a thing, and you had this chance again to become connected with the players and the team. And it's now that it's just, man, I don't know. It's I don't know, man. I'm a I'm a mess.
it's
I'm a mess.
it's
Support
hard.
your.
It's hard to come up with words of what it could become. And I'll just kind of transition into our next topic, unless you've got any more,
Oh no, no.
anything flowing out of you that you want to go over with
No,
Nico.
no. I've already been an emotional dad enough. We'll move on.
Okay,
Let's make
well,
this a good
I'll
show.
go into something that will make us, I know it really made me feel good, and I had thrown out some buzzwords of resilience and playing for the love of the game, and things that we can all look back and say, yes, this is what sports are all about. And that was my guy, Rory McIlroy, wins the Masters this weekend in only the way that Rory McIlroy, trying to end a drought of majors, trying to complete the Grand Slam. That final round was nuts. Did you
Yeah.
get to watch any of it? I know
I
you were
watched.
kind of.
Yeah, I had to work this weekend, so I didn't really get to watch any of it. I did watch the highlights, and it was incredible. Like that's the feeling you get in your gut where you're excited, but you want to cry at the same time. What sports do to us. It was super intense, and I bet watching it live was incredible. But yeah, I got to see the highlights of it, and yeah, I mean, good on old Rory at the ripe age of 77. He finally did it. I feel like
Yeah,
that guy's been trying for 55 years to get the Masters, so good on him.
let me just put it into context because I actually have heard. I was kind of surprised at, and outside of the game of golf, you probably don't really think about it as much. But I had heard people talking about, well, why does the Grand Slam? Why does that kind of stuff really matter in the long run? What does that mean to golf as a whole? Well, let me just put it into perspective for you. So Rory McIlroy has won all four majors in the professional golf game. Only five other players before him have done that.
Wow.
And just to put it in more perspective, out of the five guys that have done it before him, the most time it took them to win the fourth one was 3 years. This was almost 11 years for Rory to complete the Grand Slam. And the last guy to do it, by the way, Tiger Woods, 25 years ago, which is hard to believe it was 25 years ago. Tiger Woods did
Wow.
it in his first try. It took him one try to do it. That's the last time it was accomplished. And I'll just go through the list of guys that have done it. Even people that don't watch golf, you'll know these names.
Right.
The first one is kind of the outlier, the very first one, Gene Sarazen. By the way, he did it when the Masters was still called the Augusta National Invitational. It wasn't even the Masters yet. This
What
was
year was that?
this was, I think, I can't remember for sure, but it was the second Masters. So this was the 89th edition. This was the second time they had ever done it. So that puts it into perspective.
Wow.
It
Okay.
was almost
Yeah.
90 years ago. He's the only
Incredible.
player to complete it at Augusta. So 90 years ago. Now Rory has done it. So that's a thing in itself. And then you got Ben Hogan, who he is kind of the guy that everybody knows when you talk about older golf guys. Ben Hogan is the great. You
Yeah.
got Gary Player, who is the greatest non-American golfer that we've ever seen. And then you
Yeah.
got Jack Nicklaus, the probably the
Wow.
best major champion. Obviously, 18 majors. He's the best major champion. Tiger Woods, probably the best player we've ever seen. So that's the list that Rory McIlroy joins,
Yeah.
and that kind of puts it into perspective that he
So what?
is. It's a different level of the game for
That's
sure.
incredible, man. So what's his title going to be? They all had titles that you say that and you're like, yeah, that's him. So what's Rory going to be?
So
And that's
now,
yet to be determined. That
yeah,
will history will
have been
decide that. But
thinking
that's
about
so cool.
this. Yeah, I have been thinking about this. So Rory now, to put it into perspective, he is I think at 27 or 29 PGA Tour wins. He has five major championships. He's got now the Grand Slam. He is on the cusp. I think he's pretty clearly put himself in the he's the best player of his generation category, but now Rory is the only European to complete the Grand Slam. He is behind, so he's now tied with a lot of golfers will know Seve Ballesteros. He had five majors. He's tied with Seve. Nick Faldo has the most of any European. He's got six. And then I know Rory yesterday mentioned that he wants to be the best non-American. So then you go into Gary Player category. He finished with nine majors. So I think for
Okay.
this, Rory kind of
He
felt
can do
like
it, I think.
the weight had been lifted. I think he's thinking he wants to try to get to 10, which would be, I mean, you're talking about then you're in this situation where you're Jack and Tiger. That's who's
Yeah.
ahead of you. So
Yeah.
but I think he thinks that he wants to be the best European player, and he is very close to being that. He's in the conversation for that. So he's one of those guys that people love to hate on because of people. He's emotional. He's kind of whiny, things like that. I would never say that about Rory because I've been wanting him to win the Masters since I can remember. But he is one of those players that, when you really look back at him, has done a lot more in the game of golf than I think people realize, and so it's a big accomplishment for sure.
Yeah, man, that's cool. Like, yeah, that's awesome. That's
And
good for him.
obviously, if you watched yesterday, you could see the way he reacted in the playoff. He goes down. I mean, obviously, the way he played that round, I could go through and all the points where yes, it's over. He's won it. Oh my gosh, he just lost it. He's
Hmm. Yeah.
makes birdie on 17 to take the lead. It's over. Hit two good shots, and you've won the Masters. He hits a really good drive. He's got a wedge into 18, which never happens. Most of the time, guys are hitting longer irons,
I
and he
mean,
flares it into the bunker, can't get it up and down. Oh my gosh, we're going to a playoff. And then all of a sudden, Justin Rose, who is kind of the best second place finisher that we've ever seen kind of in the golf world. He's
yeah.
lost, this is his second playoff he's lost at Augusta, which is just, I can't imagine how hard that is for him, but handled it really well. And then Rory comes back in the playoff. He hits another really good drive, and the same, I think he said he was 2 yards difference from where he was in regulation, and he hits his wedge to 2 feet. Justin Rose misses his putt and it's over, but you can just see the emotion. I mean, I can't imagine what that situation is like to not
I
only win the
mean,
Masters, but to do it in the way that he did it.
yeah. So my only question is, when is the movie? Tom Holland is starring in it, and who's gonna play? Everyone else. I mean, that's a movie.
It's a movie
It's
that
incredible. It's
we
awesome.
always talk about it as sports fans. Every sports movie that you watch, you sit back and think, well, that can't happen in real life. And then you see a crazier story in real life in sports. We see it
Yeah.
all the time. And it
Yeah.
just, to me, watching it yesterday was everything that makes sports great. It reminds you of how good at its best sports are. And
Mm.
that's why we all love it. And it just is one of those things like Tiger in 2019 winning after all that he had gone through. And it just reminds you of how good it can be. Of course, the miracle on ice, every great
Yeah.
sports memory
Yeah.
that's like, yes, this is what it's all about. And then we turn around and we have this big conversation about college football where that is what's lacking right now. And hopefully that's what we get back to of these moments where, yes, it just means, like the SEC always says, it just means more. That's what we
Mm.
want as
It
sports
does.
fans.
Last I checked, yeah, it does.
That's what the commercials tell us, and that's
That's
what
what
we're
they say.
supposed to believe. So, as fans, it might still mean more. We'll see if it still means more to players down the road.
Oh, by the way, thank you, Greg Sankey. I'm sure someone's going to sue you over this, and you'll have to change the rule, like everything else. But thank you for not allowing transfer players to transfer to other SEC schools immediately, so no other fan base can come at us, because that would be the final straw. I would have to go under a rock if, for God forbid, Nico were to have went to an SEC school and absolutely killed it next season. That would have been it for me. Because
The one rule that's in place in college football is that you cannot transfer from one SEC school to another. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Because I mean, I was just a few days ago we were thinking Nico's going to lead this team to another playoff. Probably. I mean, I think we all thought they were probably good enough to. From that to, I don't know. Good on Josh Heupel, but do you have a good football team right now? I guess we'll find out. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, we love it. It's the best sport on earth. Um, so we'll see what happens.
We just try to keep telling ourselves that, and hopefully, at some point, they will be reminded that that's what it's supposed to be, and we can go back to all universally loving what college football is, and it's the ultimate unifier and ultimate war path is college football. It is what we all love, and we all love to hate each other because of it. And that's what makes it so good. So hopefully that's what it can continue to be. And now we'll move into as much negativity as we've run into, we'll move into our "Come On, Bro" segment. I know that yours is very timely. It's it's almost an
Well,
easy as you can get. What
well,
is?
I duped you this week. I told you one, and I've got a different one.
Oh,
So
you got me.
I think I'm
Okay,
going to give you the red carpet and this time and let you go first since I went first last week.
okay.
But I promise it's going to be a good one. You're going to like it. So,
Well, hopefully, I don't steal yours then. Mine is local, something that just came out kind of within the last day or so, really within the last few hours, is one of the premier players that the Tennessee Titans acquired last year, who basically has been a bust since he got to the city of Nashville. L'Jarius Sneed played 5 games for the Titans last year and is making a lot of money to have a lot of injuries that nobody knows where they came from. And
hmm.
then all of a sudden it comes out today or yesterday that he is currently being sued by an exotic car dealership owner because either him or his assistant, they have not decided yet or not sure yet, shot at him while he was at his dealership. He drove up in one of his cars and allegedly, we'll say allegedly, the shots were fired at him. Nobody was injured, but now there is a pending lawsuit. And then after the fact, L'Jarius Sneed and his mom allegedly came to the dealership and threatened that same person. So my come on, bro, is even though it is alleged of who pulled the trigger in this situation, there were definitely shots fired. L'Jarius Sneed, come on, bro. What are we doing? You, first of all, you can't produce on the field, and now you're going to put yourself in this situation. It blew my mind when I heard it. How, first of all, how have we not heard about this until now? Because this happened in December. It is
I am,
unbelievable.
I am, you got me. I am floored currently, and I don't know how to react to this. Uh, how, how are you even in this situation at all, whether you were involved directly or not? Um, wow. I mean, wow. This,
It's amazing. What we do know is that it was his car. We don't know if it was him or his assistant. But then there are security videos of the situation, so we do know that shots were fired. Either way, it is like we always, I mean, we as
this
Titans
deserves
fans
an
have been
episode in
around
itself.
the Pac-Man Jones catastrophe.
Incredible.
What is it? How does this happen again?
Congratulations, bro. I think you already won this week for that one. Mine is way more lighthearted than that. So, moving on, my come on, bro, is to my favorite Ohioan, our very own JD Vizzle, our Vice President of the United States. Quit grabbing trophies, people. Stop it. Don't hold them. Don't grab them. Just look at it. Kiss it. Rub it, whatever. I don't care. Stop holding trophies, guy. Stop, people. We got to stop breaking trophies. Okay, we got to stop doing that. Yeah, now you're all over the internet. You had this awesome opportunity as an Ohio State grad to celebrate the national championship with your team, and you just had to pick up the trophy, didn't you? And you fumbled it, man. You fumbled it, and I can't get away from it. It is everywhere. JD, I know you're excited, man. I know you wanted to hold it, but how many times? It, come on, man. People, we gotta stop holding trophies. Look at them. Okay, JD Vance, come on, bro. I love you, but come on.
Yeah, a nightmare situation. It reminds me of kind of one of those, like you said, just don't touch it. But like
Just don't touch it.
a handful, I guess it's a handful of years ago now, where Gronk and Tom Brady bent the Lombardi Trophy, put a big dent in it, doing
Yeah.
silly stuff. Like, come on. Or you hear about guys that lose trophies. You win a
Yeah.
championship, you go take it somewhere, you lose a trophy, and you
Yeah.
hear about that kind of stuff. It's crazy. The stuff, just like you said, just look at it, don't touch it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, and keep it from, Ladarius Sneed too. Keep it away from that guy. Apparently, he may put a hole in it. Um, so yeah.
That is a guy who has been more trouble than he is worth. That is for sure for the Titans.
Incredible.
And
Wow.
now you hear the Dolphins are trying to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. That's the same. He has not
Mm.
done near the off the field stuff, but the Titans may be in the market now for a cornerback. So who knows? We'll see if
Convenient.
that is worth an exploration. But yeah, just a crazy situation. And like I mentioned, Pac-Man Jones, Titans fans are familiar with incidents similar to this, and Pac-Man at least was productive on the field as well.
At least,
L'Jarius Sneed has not done that, but hey, I mean, credit to Pac-Man. He would go do this stuff, and then he would show up and he would play football. L'Jarius
Yeah.
Sneed has not done that for the Titans, so that definitely
Oh,
one, bro. Yours is the same way, and hey, at least L'Jarius Sneed does not have to worry about fumbling a trophy because he will likely not get another one after his two that he got with the Chiefs. So at least he has that to.
at least he's got it. So good for you,
Yeah, good for
man.
him. That
That is a good way to end it.
That's a good way to end it. I am sure that we will run into more stories next week. That is our show for this week. If anything pops up midweek like we ran into this week, we will definitely post about it and talk about it on next week's show. We appreciate you joining us again for episode 4. We'll be back for episode 5.
See you guys.